Well, it's election year again, and we are being told it's time to vote. But this is not going to be a video bad-mouthing either candidate. But rather, what I would like to do is to bring out the truth of the left-right paradigm and show how it is being used against us. And it's been this way for as long as I can remember. They use this paradigm to control the masses to make you feel like you have a say, when you really don't. By the end of this video, I hope that you will see how it all relates to current events and what we are all going through. I pray that you will understand who your king truly is, and that we do not need an earthly ruler over us. We only need one king, and as children of Israel, let's find out who wants to be our king. Since the beginning, our Father in heaven has wanted to have a personal relationship with us, and for this reason we were created. Those that have read and understand the truth of the Bible will know this and understand it well. They will see that this is a two-way relationship, and the Father in heaven has made it so that the one that seeks his heart will also be the one he seeks. One of the biggest examples we have in the Bible is when Israel is demanding a king. Let's read this exchange between the children of Israel, Samuel, and our Father in heaven. 1 Samuel 8:4-20. And then all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah, and said to him, Look, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. So Samuel prayed to the Lord, and the Lord said to Samuel, Heed the voice of the people in all that they say to you. For they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them, according to all the works which they have done since the day I have brought them out of Egypt, even to this day, with which they have forsaken me and served other gods. So they are doing to you also. Now therefore, heed their voice. However, you shall solemnly forewarn them and show them the behavior of the king who will reign over them. So Samuel told all of the words of the Lord to the people who asked him for a king. And he said, This will be the behavior of the king who will reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for his own chariots and to be his horsemen, and some will run before his chariots. He will appoint captains over his thousands and captains over his 50s. He will set some to plow the ground and reap his harvest, and some to make his weapons of war and equipment for his chariots. He will take your daughters to be confectionaries, cooks, and bakers. He will take the best of your fields, your vineyards, and your olive groves, and give them to his servants. He will take 1/10 of your grain and your vintage, and give it to his officers and servants. He will take your male servants and your female servants, your finest young men and your donkeys, and put them to his work. He will take 1/10 of your sheep, and you will be his servants. And you will cry out in that day because of your king, whom you have chosen for yourselves. And the Lord will not hear you in that day. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, No, but we will have a king over us, that we also may be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us, and go out before us and fight our battles. Where we live, and where you live, you may be electing a president, or a prime minister, or some other type of ruling individual to rule over you. And has anything changed since then? How many of our children have been taken to war for their agendas? How much of our income is taken each year to pay for these ruling parties, quote unquote, to run our country? I only wish our governments took only 10%. I think now if you add it up, it's more like 40% of your income gets scraped off the top. We have been born into a system that is very corrupt and built upon many lies. So many that it's hard to even see the truth anymore. and this has all been done by design. Matthew 12:25. But Jesus knew their thoughts and said to them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself will not stand. And yet, this is mostly what every country faces in this current world, as they have mostly adopted the left-right paradigm and are using it to ensure there is chaos and insecurity, all in the name of peace and security. Creating divide amongst groups of people will always end in some type of war at some point. How else would you control the power of the people? If the people are always fighting against each other, how can they maintain the power? It's called divide and conquer, and the policy of maintaining control over one's subordinates or subjects by encouraging dissent between them. Sounds familiar, right? Isn't this exactly what we see? One does not need to look too hard to see all that's going on around you. One just needs to open their eyes and lower their pride and their belief in the political system. I mean, look at what's happening today with all the riots and the threats from the right and the left. And neither side realizes that it doesn't even matter who is in power. The goal is always the same. They just reword it to make it sound different. Better yet, put an actor in office and they can sell anything.
In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
From 1945 and the end of the war through 1989 and the end of the Cold War, we had a worldview. Republican and Democratic presidents alike, from Harry Truman to George Bush, stood for freedom and stood for certain propositions that would make America strong and healthy and grow the middle class and shrink poverty and stand against communism. And after 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
No world order that elevates one nation or group of people over another will succeed.
We need a new order.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order.
We've got to be very strong, very, very smart, and we've got to come together, not only as a nation, but as a world community.
Did you hear the theme? Both sides want to have a one world order. It's like they are trying to write themselves into prophecy to be the one that will rule the world. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief. So without going too deep into the world stage conflicts and political playground, let me give you a summary of what's going on so that it may be clear. On one side, you have communism and socialism, which includes major powers such as Russia, China, and North Korea, and many others. And on the other side, you have capitalism/conservatism, which includes Europe, US, Japan, and many others. And I would say these two lists are governed by one or the other, but still use a 2 or more party system to still divide their people. So now we see that the entire world is set up in a left-right paradigm as well. Now, I know there is far greater details behind all of this, but my point here is that we have two sides, both seemingly fighting to be the ones in control of the world. They are both fighting over the same power, thinking they will rule the world, almost like they know someone will eventually do it. But they are all applying for that spot to be in that control. And of course, isn't this been Satan's plan all along? One just needs to look at the temptation in the desert, when Lucifer offered Yeshua all of the kingdoms of the earth, if he just bowed down and worshipped him. Let's look a little closer at this left-right paradigm. We understand why they use it. It helps keep the power of the people divided and weak. It keeps them right where they want them, occupied and distracted. To really understand this whole system, you need to understand that it does not matter if you're left or right. The outcome of the main agenda is always moving forward. Both the left and the right are just instruments in Satan/Lucifer's grand game. And in this very statement, I do reveal the super elite of this grand game. One only needs to look at history to understand how this game is being executed. The game plan is to keep everyone away from understanding the truth. And if you want to win a game, play both sides, and you will win no matter what side wins. You see how evil that can be? If you're playing the white and the black during a chess game, you will always win. This is what the enemy is doing now. You can be left or right, and it doesn't matter. You're still playing the game, and you are on a side regardless of which side you choose. Not many out there understand this, and this is the truth you realize if you drop your pride and really listen to the Spirit of truth that the Father in heaven sends to us. Here is one example.
Lucifer, what is your problem?
Just that, sir.
Okay.
I'm a Christian, sir.
I'm pure and virtuous and wholesome and innocent. How can you say anything about me?
Sir, you need to be born again.
I am born again.
Now, did you just say that you are Lucifer?
I am Lucifer.
Okay, define Lucifer for me.
Pure, virtuous, wholesome, innocent individual that's out to help people.
Lucifer is?
Yeah.
Say that again. Lucifer is a pure, holy...
Virtuous.
Virtuous. Now, is he the Lucifer that God created?
That's the same one.
Oh, man, this is great. I'm going to put this on the internet.
Oh,
Amen.
God bless you,
Amen.
brother.
Because that's exactly what the Shriners and Masons teach, is that Lucifer is light.
No.
And you're,
hey, what
you're
about
confirming
those hospitals?
You know what, sir? Jesus said, many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, we did not do these good deeds in your name. And you'll say, away from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you.
Jesus said it?
In Matthew chapter 5.
Mercy.
No.
That's hard to believe.
So you're a Christian and you don't know that? Actually,
no, I really am.
You are.
Because I'm pure and virtuous.
You're pure and virtuous, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In other words, you're perfect without Jesus, right?
No.
Okay, tell me about Jesus. Who is Jesus?
Well, he's my leader.
Is he the Son of God?
Yes, he is.
Is he the only worshipful master?
Yes.
Have you ever been called worshipful master?
No, because I've just been too busy. I've been working.
Working?
Been working to help people.
What
like
kind
you.
of work? Okay.
Get out of here.
See, this is what a Mason confesses, is that Lucifer is light.
And this. How can a Democrat Christian and a Republican Christian say they are on the same path to salvation if they are always at odds and each one living with completely different values? When you understand the Bible and realize there is no left-right, you realize there is only one kingdom, one way, one truth, and one king. Brothers and sisters who understand this all have the same values, as they are the ones that are given to us by our King, Yeshua. We may not all gain those values at the same time, but eventually we do learn them. In Deuteronomy 5:32, Joshua 1:7, Proverbs 4:27, Isaiah 30:21, and 2 Kings 22:2, we see that we are taught not to turn to the left or to the right. Joshua 1:7, only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. Matthew 7:13 and 14. Enter ye at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go there. Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Now, there is information out there on how to help break this left-right mentality, and to bring the people together again. And this would very much be needed in order to heal the nations and the world. To truly bring the world under a one-world government, it would require something grand, something of large scale that will affect every corner of the world. Something that would make everyone bind together for the same cause. Something to keep us preoccupied in our own little world, but yet keep the people apart so they cannot assume control or learn the truth. Mentally, everyone together. Physically, everyone apart. Is this starting to sound familiar? They have scared people so much that almost the entire world is wearing a face covering and waiting for the next super vax fix, which in itself can make people even more sick. So wake up. Realize that their plan is moving forward as expected. It doesn't matter if you think the virus is real or not. They have almost the whole world in control using a single event. Think about that for a second. They are going to use this to the fullest extent to get their world to trust them instead of our one true King. Daniel was a perfect example of what it is like to live in captivity under a ruler that is not following the ways of Yahweh. He and his friends never turned away from the values that they knew were of the Father, and they never went to the left or to the right to appease their ruler on earth. They kept the ways of their one true King. And if the king put in orders that violated these values, they took the punishment. But because of their faith, they were spared any pain from the fiery furnace, and Daniel was protected from the lions. And as for the face covering and the washing of our hands 50 million times for 20 seconds, is itself a form of submission to authority, a ritual and a new tradition of men that makes people trust in the face covering or the hand washing over trusting the Father in heaven. This is a form of idolatry. Yeshua even told us we don't have to wash our hands before we eat in more than one place. Luke 11:37 through 40. And he spoke, and a certain Pharisee asked him to dine with him. So he went in and sat down to eat. And when the Pharisee saw it, he marveled that he had not washed his hands before dinner. Then the Lord said to him, Now, you Pharisees, make the outside of your cup and dish clean, but your inward parts are full of greed and wickedness. Foolish ones, did not he who made the outside make the inside also? Have no fear, brothers and sisters. We only fear the Father in heaven himself. Yeshua told us this in Matthew 10:28. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Do you want to know the awesome part of all of this? No matter what is going on in the world, it is moving forward according to Yahweh's will. No matter what the enemy does, he is doing the will of the Father. All of these things must be done. The goal of what we are showing you today is just how the plans of the world continue to move forward, and for us to keep our eyes open and watch for our Savior's return. It is getting closer and closer every day. Let us thank the Father in heaven for everything that He has given to us. Thank you, Father, for your wisdom and the knowledge and your grace and your love. Now, what about Yahweh's kingdom? I think it's time we reveal what Yeshua is preparing for us. Let's look in scriptures and see where we are shown a glimpse into the kingdom that has been promised and prepared for those who obey and keep the commandments of the Father in heaven. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come to mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people, and the voice of weeping shall be heard no more, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence infant of days, nor an old man that have not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree, the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith the Lord. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them. And they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. For the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son.